back to my channel. Welcome to another reading vlog. I've missed doing reading vlogs, I've really missed it. May has honestly been a bit of a write-off in terms of reading. I've been in the worst reading slump ever, but I thought maybe doing a little reading vlog would help me get back into it. And today's reading vlog, as you can probably tell by the title of this video, is going to be continuing series that I'm in the middle of. Because I honestly feel like I have so many series that I'm just in the middle of right now. And I want to start finishing some up before I go into others because there's so many others that I haven't started yet that I cannot wait to start. So I feel like it would be good to kind of at least get a bit further in the series that I'm already in the middle of, and I thought it'd be fun to do that together. The first read of the vlog, as I said, I've been in the worst reading slump ever, and there is one thing that is getting me through right now. One thing, and that's the Hunger Games series. I have never read this series before. I've seen the films when they first came out. I think I've actually only seen probably the first and the second film. I don't think I've seen the third, part one or part two. But I saw it ages ago, and when I first watched them I wasn't much of a reader, so I just didn't really have any interest in the books. I saw these on our family bookcase, and I literally looked at the Hunger Games, the first one, and I thought, I really wonder what the first line of that is going to be, because I love reading first lines. Every time I buy a new book, I read the first line. It's just a thing. I don't know why, I just absolutely love it. I love to know how a book starts. And when I tell you, I was hooked. I was so hooked. I literally didn't put it down, I just wanted to continue it. And so I decided to read it. And then after I finished this one, I couldn't even imagine going into another book. I couldn't imagine reading anything else other than these characters or this world. So I went straight into the second one and I read this. and bear in mind as well, after the first one, I watched the first film. After the second one, I finished it, watched the second film, and then I'm gonna go straight in to the third one. So I've been on like a Hunger Games binge at the minute. It's been all I've been thinking about. It's all I've been consuming because I've just been reading it and then watching it. And I've loved every single second of it. And I can't wait to read the third one. I'm so excited to find out what happens in this. I can't really imagine what they're going to do with it because I feel like from reading the back, it's probably going to be a lot more sort of about the revolution and sort of the politics of the world more so. I don't know, and I'm excited to find out. So that's our first book of this vlog and the first series that I'm actually going to be completing, which is crazy to me. I do know that there is another one, which is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and I think that's a prequel. If I'm right, I think it's a prequel based on President Snow, who, if you don't know, is the main villain in these books. But I'm not sure if I want to read that one. I don't know why. I'm not sold on it. I think because I don't like President Snow, but then I know that we're probably going to get a lot of his backstory and why he's the way he is and sort of see how he turned into who he is. But I'm not sure that I'm necessarily feeling that one. I might come back to it another day, but I think for now I'm happy finishing this series, watching the films, and then going back to my normal TBR that I probably should be reading. I would really like to see the movie for that one, I think. So that's probably what I'll watch after I've finished this whole series. Okay, let's start this one together. Thought it was time for a little reading update because I haven't done one yet. I actually started this book yesterday, as you saw, and no joke, I'm already about 2/3 of the way through. I have this much left, which is just crazy. Every single one of these books in the series is just so fast paced and so easy to read. I will say that this one, I did find the first part a bit slower than I did in the first two books. Each one of these books is set up into 3 parts, and I did find the first part of this a bit slower, but then once it got to part 2, every single chapter from then on ended on like a cliffhanger, and I just had to read the next page, and I just kept on reading. I stayed up way too late last night reading this, which is how I've read so much, which, oops. And it's one of those where I'm like, anything could happen at this point. Literally anything could happen, which scares me. It scares me because I'm very conscious this is the last book as well. So We'll see what happens. I am really enjoying it so far. I do think it is a lot more sort of like the politics of the world. It's just a lot more focused on sort of the war aspect and the politic aspect, which I thought, to be honest, I really wouldn't like, but it's actually a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be. And again, it's just as fast paced as the first two. I literally don't know what she puts in these books to make them so fast paced, but it's one of those series where I literally forget I'm reading. I'm so the type of person that keeps checking my page number just to see how many pages I read or how far I've got. I don't do that with this book because I'm so in this world, and then all of a sudden I'm like 100 pages from when I last checked. That's how quick this book is to read and just how invested I am. So they're my current thoughts. I'm really excited to kind of see how it ends, see what happens in the last sort of third that I've got left. And I'm also really excited to watch the films for this one, because when I'm reading this, I genuinely can't imagine what that looks like in the film, and I thought that I'd watch all of the films, which would have been a while ago, but even still, when I read the scenes in here, I'm like, I don't remember that at all. So I'm hoping that it will kind of be like watching it for the first time again. So I am really excited to see the films for this. I know that it's split up into two films, as part one and part two, which also really intrigues me because I'm sort of like, this is the same length book as the first two, so how are they making two films out of that? Intrigues me. I'm looking forward to seeing kind of what they do with that. Then my thoughts so far. This is the first series where I've literally read them one after another with no breaks in between. I don't think I've ever done that with any other series. I've done it with like Magnolia Parks, where I've gone from Magnolia Parks and then gone straight into Daisy Hates, but from there I didn't then go into the third one. But there's literally never been a series where I've read them straight after one another, which I think just shows how invested I am because I can't imagine being in any other world or with any other characters right now. But yeah, that's all for now, and I think I'll finish this either today or tomorrow. Probably tomorrow, because I still have like 200 pages left, so probably tomorrow, unless I stay up too late tonight, which could very well happen. We'll see. We'll see. Little update time. I finished reading it. I didn't actually vlog me reading the end of it just because my camera was dead. I actually finished reading it yesterday, and then last night I actually watched part two because I'd already watched part one when I was about halfway through, because I believe part one is up to chapter 12 in here and a bit of chapter 13, and I was way past that point. I think it was a couple days ago. So I watched part one then, and then I carried on reading, and then I watched part two last night, and I'm so sad that this whole series is over because I feel like it has literally consumed me, and when I'm not reading, I'm watching the film. And now I just don't know what to do with myself. I can't imagine reading anything else right now, which I feel like is gonna make picking my next book really hard. But this was really good. I really enjoyed. I will say that this one is definitely more sort of politic war based, and it's a lot more concentrated on the capital and the districts and the dynamic between them and the history behind that. And there was so much action in this. I do feel like at some points there was so much going on that I felt kind of overwhelmed, and I will say that that was probably, I don't want to say better, but I think I enjoyed it more watching that happen in the film. I think they did that really well in the film, just because it's easy for me to process when I'm watching it compared to when I'm reading it, just because I felt like so much was happening when I was reading it. But then again, in the film they did cut out bits here and there, so there's that. And I'm really glad that I read the book. I'm really glad that I read all of the books. I really liked the films before I read the books, but the books honestly have just, like, I'm so glad that I've read the books, so glad, and I can see how different they are to the films, just in terms of detail and the history and the backstory of things, and the building of characters is slightly different in the books, as you would expect it to be, because they have more time with you to do that throughout the book. There are some things about the ending of this one that I didn't see coming, and that kind of left me feeling a bit like that is not a satisfying ending, but not in a really negative way, just in a sort of, I kind of wish things were different. But I get why everything's happened the way it has. I just really enjoyed it, and I'm sad that it's done. And I'm gonna give this a rating of 4 stars, I think. I think it's pretty equal to the second one in my head in terms of rating. The first one I think was my favourite, and that's the one that I was absolutely hooked on. But all 3 of them are really fast paced, and this one was a 4-star book for me. So now it's time to choose my next read. We have 3 books that I can choose from, which are series that I'm currently in the middle of. So the first one is Powerless by Elsie Silver, which is the 3rd one in the Chestnut Springs series. And if you've seen any of my videos where I mentioned this book, you'll probably know by now that I am so excited for this. This is my most anticipated read in the whole series, but I do feel like I need to be in the right mood for this sort of cowboy romance vibe. But we do have this as an option. And then we have Tales from the Cafe, which is the second one to Before the Coffee Gets Cold. The first one I read, I think it must be about a year ago, maybe even longer than that, and I really enjoyed it. I really liked how it was almost like short stories, but all the short stories linked together somehow. I really liked how it was done. It was just such a nice read. It was such a nice read, and this is the second one, and it's a cute little ditty book. And then we have All In, which is the 3rd one in the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. And these books, I feel like I forget how much I actually like reading them until I'm back in this world, because I wouldn't say I necessarily think about these characters a lot outside of these books, but when I go back into it, I'm so addicted and I literally can't put the books down. So they're my 3 options. They're my series that I'm currently in the middle of, but I honestly thought I was in the middle of more series. I guess I kind of am, but the books just aren't out yet. Because I was just thinking we have like Magnolia Parks, and then we have the Maple Hills series, and then we have Powerless. Like, I am reading a lot of series, not that many that I can actually complete as of now. Here are our 3 choices. Because Hunger Games was so good, I was in such a bad reading slump before I picked that book up. I'm kind of nervous about going into a reading slump again because that series is now ended. So I feel like I might go for Tales from the Cafe, just because I feel like this is going to be a cute little palette cleanser type book. It's not that long. How long even is this book? It's 191 pages, so not even 200 pages. And I feel like it's been a while since I read Before the Coffee Gets Cold, and I'd really like to get back to this world and back to this little cafe. And I feel like this would be a good choice in terms of palette cleanser and to get me out of the headspace of Hunger Games because I'm still very much with Katniss. So I think we're gonna go for this one. Does that feel like a good choice? It was time for a little book update. I'm 128 pages into Tales from the Cafe. This is split up into 4 stories. Basically it's like 4 short stories, but there are breaks in between because essentially that's like 4 chapters. Which would seem really long, but they're all broken up with this little coffee cup, and there are quite a few of them in each short story, so you can stop pretty much at any time. I'm currently about halfway through the third story. So I am quite a way through. I don't have that much left. I'm definitely going to finish this either today or tomorrow, I think. And I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm enjoying it way more than I thought I would, because I looked back at my review for Before the Coffee Gets Cold, which is the first one, and I rated that book 3 stars, and I remember liking it, but it wasn't necessarily one that stuck with me loads. And I did want to read the second one, but just not straight away. And because I read the first one when I was kind of at the start of actually getting into reading, I feel like my taste in books has definitely changed. So I was kind of nervous going into this one just because I wasn't sure if I'd like it as much as I liked the first one. And even then I rated that one 3 stars. So even back then that wasn't necessarily my favourite book at the time, if that makes sense. But I'm really enjoying these. I just love the way it kind of captures different relationships and how people interact with each other and connect with each other. And it also focuses on sort of regrets in life, but also the hope that they have in life. And there's just something really special about these books, I feel like. They're unlike anything that I've read. And I just really like the kind of philosophical, psychological aspect to it. And if you don't know what these books are about, they're basically set in a cafe in Tokyo, and there's a rumour about this cafe that you can go there and time travel. And there's a few rules. I think there's about 5 rules altogether. So some of the rules are you can't meet anybody who hasn't already been to that cafe at some point, and you can only go to the past or the future once. You get 1 chance to do it. And the other one, which is the meaning of the first book's name, you get poured a coffee and you have to drink the coffee before it goes cold, otherwise you're stuck in the past as a ghost. There are a couple other rules as well, but that's the main gist, that's the main vibe. And I just like the whole setting of this cafe. It's got such a sort of cozy, warm feel to it, but there's also that sort of magicalness, because you're like, what is going on? Who's gonna go back in time? What's gonna happen? I just really like the atmosphere of this book. And like I said before, I really like how there are 4 individual stories about individual characters, but there's always something linking them together. So it is sort of one big story, but with individual stories, and I really like how they're linked together. And I'm finding that I'm wanting to get back into it, and I'm wanting to go back to the cafe. The writing style, because it's been translated from Japanese, it's written in a slightly different way, just in that I feel like sometimes I have to concentrate just a bit more, because it's not sort of a natural flowing way of writing. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's not hard to read at all, but I think sometimes it does just take a bit more concentration, especially at the start, just to get used to that type of writing style, just to do with the fact that it has been translated. But I will also say that the pace of this is really fast, which I really like, because whenever we're with a character and we sort of learn a bit about their background, and it gets to the point where I'm thinking, okay, I want them to like time travel now, and I want to see who they're going to go meet, and then as soon as I've thought that, the next paragraph is them doing that. So it is very fast paced, and I like how we get a bit of background about each character, and everybody has a reason for wanting to go see a certain person in the past, and I just really like it. I just really like it. It's a really cute book. And I wasn't sure whether I was going to get the 3rd book, because I was going to read this one and see. But I'm already wanting to get the 3rd book. I'm literally already wanting it. I'm obsessed with these covers, and I want the whole little set to go together. I think there's 4 books altogether. I think there's 4, but it has made me want to go and get the other ones as well. But that's my little update for now, and I will get back to you when I've finished the rest of this book. I'm on the last little short story, the last chapter, and I have about 30 pages left, so I'm gonna sit and finish it now. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. For such a short book, it has actually taken me a few days to read. But I've just been kind of taking it slow and properly taking in, I feel like, which I've actually really enjoyed, because I feel like sometimes I get so caught up in a book has to be so gripping, I have to be so hooked on every single page, and it's nice to just kind of slow it down a bit and just to appreciate a book for what it is. And because this is a slightly different genre to what I'm used to reading as well, it's really nice to be reading something different and just something really unique. And I'm just really enjoying the stories that they're telling about people's connections with other people and just their relationships together. It's a very wholesome book, I feel like, and it's just making me want to visit that cafe. Not even necessarily to time travel, but just to experience that atmosphere and just the cozy vibe of that cafe. Literally makes me want to go. Such a really cute book. Literally finished reading Tales from the Cafe like an hour ago, and instead of sleeping like a normal human, I've gone straight into my next book. I'm just in a real reading mood, so I thought, why not? Why not? So I've picked up All In by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, which is the third one in the Natural series. The Natural series is basically Criminal Minds, but a young adult version. It basically follows a group of teenagers who all have their own sort of skill. Like, there's one that's really good at maths, there's one that can tell if you're lying or not, and our main girl is like a criminal profiler. And because they all have this like specialised skill, they work for the FBI and they're meant to work on cold cases, but a lot of what actually happens in the books kind of turns into be real life situations happening now. So it's meant to be a program working on cold cases, but it's a lot more exciting than that because the stakes are actually higher in what actually happens. And I'm literally only a chapter in, and I'm just so happy to be back with these characters. Because I left it so long between the first book and the second book, I kind of forgot how much I enjoyed the first book, and when I read the second one I was like, why did I put this off for so long? Literally, why did I put it off for so long? Because I just loved it. I love the whole world, I love the characters, I love seeing how the characters kind of develop and the relationships grow, and I also like that each book is basically like one episode of Criminal Minds, so it has like one thing to solve, but then throughout the whole series there's another storyline like kind of going on at the same time that's slowly being revealed throughout all the books. I really like how that was done, and I'm literally a chapter in, and I really like that we're back home with Cassie, who's our main girl, because I kind of forgot about her home life. Because we don't really see that other than right at the start of the first book, because she basically stays in this house with the other teenagers, training and stuff with them, so she never really goes back home. So I really like that we've started there back at her house. And I've not actually read the back of this one just because I kind of want to go in not really knowing much, but I just thought I'd give you a little update because I've started my next book for this vlog, and I already know I'm going to be so sad when I finish this because that means I only have one left. I'm pretty sure there's only 4 in the series, which makes me sad. But I already feel like this is going to be a really quick read for me, especially because it's YA as well and the writing's just so easy to read. I'm 126 pages into All In. I'm loving it. I'm literally loving it. All I want to do is read. It's literally all I think about when I put it down, about how I want to get back into it. I just absolutely love how fast paced it is, and I think that has a bit to do with the fact that it's a YA book. So it's just very easy to read and fast paced, and I feel like I can get through it so quickly. I genuinely think this might be my favourite so far. I mean, I know I'm not even halfway through yet, but I am hooked. I'm hooked. I really like the setting of this one because they basically go to Las Vegas and it's set in like casinos, and I just love the whole atmosphere and the whole vibe of that. I feel like it makes it really stand out as well to the other two, which I genuinely don't even know where they were set. They were set around where they live. But this to them is like a little trip to Las Vegas. And I feel like if I remember right, the second one, there was a bit of build up at the start and we didn't know straight away kind of what was going on and what they were going to be investigating. This one, literally second chapter, and the first chapter ended on like a little cliffhanger. Literally from then on I have been gripped. And I just really like the setting. I like the whole concept of it. We're also learning more about the background of some of the other characters, which I love as well. I'm loving it. Why did I sound like a McDonald's advert? I need to read that again. So good. So good. Hello, good morning. I finished reading All In last night, as you guys saw, and I thought I'd just do a little recap of the last 2 books that I read because I feel like I didn't really do a summary of Tales from the Cafe or my rating or anything because I literally went straight into All In. So for Tales from the Cafe, this was just such a cute book. It was such a nice palette cleanser. I really liked being back at this cafe, and it's just such a different read to any other books that I read. And I actually think I preferred this to the first one, and I don't really know why that is. I don't know whether I just appreciate it more now, but something about this one I just absolutely love. And I just love how we get all these different kind of connections and interactions between people. It just feels like a very special book, and I ended up rating it 4 stars. And then moving on to All In. This is my favourite in the series so far. This is literally my favourite. When I tell you I was hooked literally from page 1, and I read it so quick, which is kind of made me sad because now I only have 1 left in the series. I think I have 1, and then I think that there's a novella, which I only found out recently, but I only have 1 full book left, which made me so sad. And the ending of this one literally made me want to go straight into the next one, but I'm trying to hold off. I'm trying to wait and make it last. I loved the setting of this. I loved the whole case that we were dealing with. It was so interesting, and I also really like that we got a bit more about our other characters, and I love how each book kind of focuses on revealing more about a certain character that's not our main girl, Cassie. I really like how that's done, and it just makes you feel more connected to that whole group of characters. And it also kind of explains a bit more about why their character is the way that they are, which I really like. I really liked that it was set in Las Vegas, and we got the casinos and the fancy hotels. And the ending of this, as you saw my reaction, my jaw was on the floor. It was literally on the floor. I got more than I could ever ask for from this ending, I think. And I also liked how it was all unravelled and revealed, but I also liked the kind of movement we got with the bigger plot going on as well, and that's what makes me so excited to read the last book in the series. It's just so good. It's so good, and I'm gonna be so sad when the series is done. I'm gonna be so sad because I honestly just love the whole concept of all of these books and the characters and just everything about them. I really like them. I'm not ready for it to be done. I'm literally not ready. I ended up rating this 4.5. I was kind of stuck between a 4.5 and a 5 because I think within the series it's a 5-star book, but as a book by itself it's probably more 4.5. I know that's kind of confusing, but I think for now I'm gonna go for 4.5. It was so good. It was so good. I'd honestly recommend this whole entire series. It's just so fast paced and fun, but there is also a bit more depth there as well with the characters, and the characters do feel like thought out characters because they have this whole background that you don't even know from the first book because it gets revealed slowly out throughout the series, which I really like how that's done. Also, there's kind of like a love triangle going on in these books between Michael, Dean and Cassie, and I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the first love triangles that I've read that I don't know which side I'm on. I literally don't know. The first book I was like, I'm rooting for Michael. Like, I could see the attraction to Dean, I could see it, I'm rooting for Michael. The second book came and I was like, Dean all the way. Third book, I don't know. I don't know what to think. I know how Cassie feels because what do we even do with that? So I'd also be interested to see kind of what happens in the 4th book because she seems kind of set with her choice at the minute, and I can't really see that changing, but I also don't really know how I feel about that. So I'd be intrigued to see what happens there. When I say love triangle, the love triangle is such a tiny like subplot of these books. These books are very focused on the kind of criminal mystery aspect of it. I have enjoyed the little subplot of this love triangle going on. But overall, I absolutely love this. Favourite one in the series so far, and I genuinely think this is going to be one that I think about because I was just so invested, and I'm excited for the last one. But I'm also scared. But that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for coming to read with me and continue on the series that I'm in the middle of. I've really enjoyed doing this video and I hope that you have enjoyed watching. If you have, please let me know and I will hopefully see you in my next video.